Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day and spending time with us. Appreciate you so much, so much. All right, so a couple of things. Great news. Thanks to you, we did crush the 13,000 download milestone. We are still pushing to crush the 14,000 download. We are a little bit over halfway, and I know that with this episode, we are going to get there and beyond. So I thank you so much for your help so far, and I know that you are a huge part of making this podcast a huge success. So of course, I am inserting my happy dance, and if you're watching the video, you can see me doing the happy dance. So there you have it. So thank you for subscribing to the podcast, listening to the podcast, sharing it with a friend or two, and leaving a 5-star rating. All of this is greatly appreciated by me. And so if you're in a position right now where you're looking to start a podcast, guess what? Now is a perfect time to get one going because podcasts are so fun. There's so many people who are listening to podcasts now. The numbers are increasing daily. And particularly since we're currently in a situation where we are home more, we are tending to listen to more. So why not let your voice be heard? Now, in that same vein, I'll let you know that there are only 2 seats left in this next iteration of the podcasting launch course for professionals. And by the way, that is now open for registration. And you can sign up essentially at signup.podcastinglaunch.com. And we start this week, y'all. Yes, we do. We start this week. And so if you have been thinking about starting a podcast, but not sure where to begin, have you wanted to get a message out to the world through mediums other than social media? Would you like to have your voice in the ears of your tribe with information that will help them in their life? Or have you ever listened to a podcast and thought, wow, that would be cool to do. I'd really like to do that. Are you looking for a way to increase revenue in your business or practice? Let me tell you, there are truly a multitude of reasons that people start podcasting, as well as incredible amount of benefits associated with doing it. I can teach you everything you need to know to get started and walk away with 5 episodes ready to go. You won't have to do anything but basically bring yourself. I will help you through the entire process. You'll have me by your side every step of the way, and you'll also have the support of the other participants in the course. Sound amazing? Absolutely. So there are limited spots. Like I said, there are only 2 seats left. I was super excited about how quickly it filled up because I don't know, it makes my heart happy that you all are embracing podcasting too. And so you don't want to miss your shot. You basically don't. You want to take your shot. And so sign up at signup.podcastinglaunch.com and join me on this 6-week course that starts on August 24th, which is in a couple of days from this recording. And so, because you know what? For this round, I'm still offering the introductory price, and you want to take advantage of that. First movers advantage, that whole scenario. So you'll be able to take advantage of that if you jump in now at the lowest price, and you basically will get started and you'll be rewarded for being an early adopter, for being early in the game in my podcast course foray. So just imagine in October, you can be sharing the launch of your podcast with the world. So are you ready? I'm going to give you the sign up again. It's signup www.podcastandlaunch.com. So I hope to see you all in the course. Okay. And then on the other side of things, swag. Now, I have brought this up a couple times, a few weeks in a row, because I am looking for your feedback. I'm looking for your feedback on what kind of swag I should get for the podcast. I want to get some swag. I want to share that with you. I want you to have access to that so that you can share the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast with the world and look really cool, or do something where you look really cool with it. And then hashtag me or something. I don't know. We'll figure that part out later. Now, what would you like the Tribe's swag store to carry? I am looking for you. Please help me to get those ideas, because I thank you in advance for your ideas. And then the last thing is the podcasts from the last podcasting launch course are still coming out. And I am super excited about that, because these shows, oh my gosh, pure fire. These shows are amazing. And I'm super proud of these women, because they have just been rocking it out. And so the first one is, oh, by the way, please check out these shows and show them some love by subscribing, leaving a 5-star rating, sharing, and leaving a positive comment. That would be amazing. And I would thank you greatly for that. All right. So the first one is Pivot and Bloom, and that is with Dr. Byla. And again, great show. Definitely check it out. The next one is The Drama-Free Workplace with Patty Perez. Check that one out. Pure fire again. And then the last one is Living at Your Finest with Dr. Babs. Now, you haven't heard me talk about that one yet, right? Because guess what? It is brand new on the scene, which is why you need to go and show it some love and help her to spread the word about her awesome message. Awesome message. So, Living at Your Finest with Dr. Babs, I wish for you to please go over and spread some love, give her some uplift, spread the word about her podcast. So I thank you again in advance. All right. So now, if you are interested in being part of the next podcasting launch course, so say, for example, you're like, well, I really want to do this, but I'm unable to jump on this time around. That's fine. If you want to be in the next round, then there is a waiting list. You can jump on a waiting list. I just can't guarantee that the price that I'm offering right now is going to be available when I run it the next time. So that's the only caveat. If you're okay with that, no problem. So for the waiting list, I will drop the link in the show notes because it's kind of long. But basically, it's it's at my website, ferventlyfitwithcharmaine.com/podcasting-launch-course-waitlist. Okay? I know, that's a mouthful. So, the other thing is, are you too busy to participate in the course, but you still want to get your show started? Well, I have a solution for you. It's called the Podcast in a Box. And basically what happens with that particular solution is you provide the audio for the first 5 episodes to launch with a bang. And guess what? We do the rest. We do the absolute rest. So we package your baby, we get your baby ready to go, and we launch your baby into the stratosphere. So you can find out more about that at ferventlyfitwithcharmaine.com/DFY-podcast-marketing. So get off your fair fence today. Your tribe is waiting for your voice. And that's it for the announcements. Whew, that was a lot. Holy smokes. All right, so on today's episode, we have Ryan Stanley. Ryan is a lifelong entrepreneur who is known for his impressively natural ability to connect with, understand, and empower those who are willing to make significant changes in their personal and professional lives so that they can end up being the best versions of themselves. And when I read Ryan's bio, I was kind of like, really? But then I met him, and you will feel the same way too. As you're talking with him and as we're having our conversation, you will feel exactly the same. So here we go. Here is Ryan Stanley and I's conversation, recorded a little bit ago, but just for you. Hello, Fearless Freedom family. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. Today, we have Ryan Stanley. And Ryan, you have got to tell the Fearless Freedom Tribe all about you and all the amazing things that you're up to.
More than happy to. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Dr. G. Really, really super excited to be here. First of all, as you mentioned, my name is Ryan Stanley. I am a life and self-leadership coach. I've been a certified professional coach since 2009, so going on just over 10 years. I believe that living on purpose doesn't happen by accident, and the awareness of that can guide us every single day. I am the second oldest of 10. I'm a father of 2. I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. I just published my first book, which is called Be Patient, Be Present, Be Joyful, a first aid kit for the emotional bumps, scrapes, and bruises of life. I love connecting with people. I believe if you live on purpose and you're the light that you want to see in the world at the same time, you not only enjoy life, but you inspire others to do the same.
Wow. That was a lot.
How was that? I didn't know. Was that too much?
Listen, it's not too much. But you know what? I was enthralled by the 10 children in your family.
Yeah.
That has to be a unique experience because so you said that you are the second oldest?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So that means that and so is the spread like 2 years apart roughly between the children or?
Yeah, it varies. It's probably, I mean, I think my youngest sister's so I'm 44.
Yeah.
Actually I just turned 45. I have an older brother who's 47. And so my youngest sister is about in her early 20s, 21, I think.
Okay. Because, it's always fascinating to me. I know you probably didn't want to talk about your large family, but
talk about anything, yeah.
But here's the deal. Like I'm always fascinated by that because I have 2 colleagues who are, also obviously physicians, and one has 7 and the other one has 11. and it's so it's always fascinating to me because I remember when I was having one of my children, one of them had a child coming and a grandchild coming at the same time. So, because, when you have that spread, they're going to be people, like the older kids are going to be out and they're getting their lives going. And then if you're still having kids, then, you could potentially have a kid the same time as your child is having a child.
Right. Well, I have one of my younger brothers. So my younger brother, it's like, and he's a half brother of mine, meaning so my parents did get divorced and then both got remarried to have more children. So that makes up the 10, but they're all still siblings.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
It's my mother's son, and he's, my brother through her. And so through my stepdad, he has an uncle that is, a cousin that is, so wait a second. So it's his sister has a son who's like older than him, right? I mean, so same thing. It's like, so his uncle or his nephew is older than him. That's what it was. All right.
Wow. Yeah. It's
a nephew that's like, 2 years older than them. They kind of grew up together type of a thing. So.
Oh, wow. This is an interesting dynamic. I mean, and the thing about that is that, you would think, because I mean, a long time ago, that was the norm. You would have a lot of children because you needed the manpower to work the farm, work the business, whatever. And so, as time moved on and we were not having to rely on the manpower, families were not as big. And so, but here in my area, apparently we still have a lot of big families.
They're still, they pop up every once in a while.
Yeah, we still have a lot of big families. So it's
and I think also like it's so much more expensive now. It's just a completely different world altogether, right? And to your point, if you were having more children to kind of help out with the farm and to do the stuff, now they're not doing that anyway, right? So it costs more to have them to make the farm than it would just to have the farm. So
yes, it's true. It's so funny. Wow. And then so you have some good ages for yours. It sounds like you have tweens. Are they tweens then? Or are they not
7
quite?
and 9. So
so the 9-year-old is almost a tween.
God, I hope not.
I'm always like confused about when exactly they enter that phase.
I always thought the tweens was double digits. So I got at least, a couple months. So once they get the 10, 11, maybe 12 mark,
Yeah. So there you go. Brace yourself, Daddy.
But
brace yourself.
Parenthood. I'm No, parenthood is sincerely my favorite part about life. Parenthood and coaching are my 2 favorite things. They are definitely 2 places where you are consistently teaching and learning at the same time. So and if you step into that and recognize that there's, always an opportunity in every conversation to either decide who you want to be for yourself or decide who you want to be for your children, it can be a pretty powerful learning opportunity.
Oh, yes. And I love the fact that, my husband and I joke about this, but our oldest is 12 and he's sitting right here. But I remember when we had him and we were at the hospital and we literally were like, okay, so is there going to be like a user manual that's going to come with this baby?
Now what?
There's no user manual. And on top of that, they were not stopping us from taking him home. They like literally said, no, you're on your way. Go for it.
You can do it.
And thankfully he made it to 12 years old and he's doing well.
That's awesome. Yeah. In fact, I had a cousin who told me, he's like, yeah, we were way more unprepared than we had any idea we were. And they said they literally, after a couple of days, went back to the hospital and said, we have no idea what we're doing. And they're like, sorry, here's a pamphlet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody feels this way, but nobody tells you they feel this way. Yeah. So I felt a little bit bamboozled because I felt like nobody gave us the skinny on how scary it is when you take your kid home for the first time. Like nobody said it's scary.
And being the second oldest of 10, I had some insight. So actually I used to own a daycare center as well. So I mean, I've spent a lot of my time around children, younger children and in all different ages. And so for me, it wasn't as scary but my wife was completely like in shock the entire time. And so it was a good balance. She's definitely the left brain of our family with here's how we do it. We got to make sure everything's taken care of. So that came in handy as well. And I'm the right side. Well, listen, hey, don't worry about it. Let's be creative. Let's figure out a way to make everything work. And it certainly came into play well with parenthood as well.
Awesome. And then you alluded to the fact that there is a parallel between parenting and coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in the sense that, like I said, you're there with the agenda of the individual you're connecting with, right? Obviously with your children. So for me, I can honestly say I never truly understood unconditional love until I became a parent. And that's not to say that I don't love my wife. We've been married for 13 years. We've been on quite an adventure together. It's a different type of love, obviously, in so many different ways. But the first time I personally truly understood unconditional love was when I had a child, and I realized, each day as this person is growing and becoming a human being, A, it's my responsibility to guide it, but B, I just to truly just love every second of it so much that in a way that I never understood before. So while coaching, it's different, right? I don't love them in the same way, but I do love my clients. I do love them as human beings who are having a human experience and are going through growth and are willing to show up on purpose to see if they can become the best versions of themselves possible. And so I think people often ask me, what makes a great coach? And I think the true answer, there's some basic answers, which are certainly very true. Good listener, a willingness to be present, these types of different things. But really when it comes down to it, I think the best coaches are those who hold the client's agenda always and are truly listening and thinking about the client's agenda. Why is this person working with me? Why do they come to me? What do they really want to get out of this? Because as helpers, right, many of us are coaches because we love to help. We want to come in. We want to solve the problem. And that's not always the client's agenda, right? That's not always exactly. They don't need to have it solved by somebody else. Sometimes they just need a place to kind of think it through and to kind of think about it a little bit further and get clarity on what that agenda actually is.
Absolutely.
And so both of those places again, right? So if I'm always, in fact, I have an audio blog once that was downloaded a lot, and it's about be who you want to be for your kids, right? I'm kind of going back to the kid piece now, because at any point, if you're behaving, whether your children are there or not, but you're behaving in a way that you would want your children to modify or model after, it's a good North Star. It's a good guiding post. And so both those places, it's really about the person who you're working with, being present with them, holding their agenda, and helping them be able to do the work on their own as well.
Yes, it's that whole philosophy of you can give them the fish or you can teach them how to fish.
Absolutely. Yeah, empowering them, right? And letting them know that they can. Yes. In fact, even so as a coach, it's when my kids were little, my son would say things like he would come to me whining about something, as children do, not over. But anyway, and I would say something like, well, what's a different way for you to say that, right? So I'm ignoring what they asked for. I'm ignoring, but really let's take it back to what's a different way for you to behave in this moment without saying, stop whining. I'm not yelling at them. I'm not belittling them for their behavior because it's understandable based that they were 4.
Right. 4-year-olds will do that.
Yeah. And I'll never forget, so I would do this frequently. And then one day, it was 8:00 in the morning and we were going out somewhere. And my son was like, Dad, can I get some ice cream, for breakfast or something? And I was like, no, you definitely can't have ice cream for breakfast. He's like, Dad, you know what a different way for me to say that would be? So he was already thinking about, how can I, I was like, all right, so something is sinking in there somewhere.
Oh man, I just love when they throw it back at you.
Yeah, the little things. And
Fantastic. So you are
yeah,
learning.
totally. Oh, and that's the craziest thing when you start to hear them say things like you would say, or mimic your behavior, and then you realize, okay, they're sponges. I know you hear that all the time, but literally,
Oh
they're taking
yeah.
stuff they don't know they're taking in.
Yeah.
And
And so you have to be very careful.
always, it's really one of the most powerful lessons
The
there are out
hidden
there in
agendas.
parenthood.
You never know. The hidden
And you said
curriculum.
you said you have a 12-year-old, and then
So 12, 10, and 8.
okay, so enough to keep you busy.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
you're just past where I am.
Yes,
And
yes.
you have a third, so you're way
Yes.
past where I
So
am.
it was yeah, well, I mean, we have a 10-year-old and we have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old. But yeah, I mean, I recall when they were all, because they were all little at once.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and so those were interesting times. Were fun, but they were interesting. And it's like one of those things where when you're in it, you're kind of like, oh my goodness, how am I going to make it? I'm just trying to like make it from, day to day. And
Right.
you may or may not take the opportunity to appreciate each stage because
Yeah.
you're so busy, like trying to manage these human beings. And so, that saying that talks about how, when your kids are little, you're like, oh my gosh, the days are so long. And then when they get older, you're like, oh my gosh, the years were so short.
Yeah. And that's what I would actually, it's funny. I would always tell new parents, I would say, from my experience, one thing I learned was, like, because they are stages. At the very beginning, it's the no sleeping stage or whatever, like, and they change as they get older. And I was like, just know, once, from my experience, once you kind of reach the end of where you feel like you can't handle it anymore, that's when it's going to change. So just hang tight. And when you're at that point, it's probably a good sign. The next stage is going to be difficult in its own ways, but it's going to be different. So at least you'll have a new way of experiencing the parenthood thing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's
And
definitely the gift that keeps on giving.
It is. And every stage is awesome. I mean, I really am enjoying this current stage just because, number one, they're more self-sufficient. But number two, like, they come up with these really creative ideas. I mean, they do some things that try to destroy our home. But other than that, right. They're pretty creative, and the stories are amazing, and they're fun to hang out with.
Yeah.
And yesterday they almost killed me because we went outside to play soccer, and I'm 45 and I am not a soccer player, number one.
Trying
and
to cut
then
down.
Number two, I'm running back and forth thinking, I'm really not 45, but more like 25.
Right.
And so I'm running back and forth on the field, and I'm almost dying. I'm trying to kick the ball and I'm missing it and I'm falling on my bottom. And I'm just like, okay,
down.
It's
Man
time
down.
to go inside. It's time to go inside. Mommy's just not be able to do this anymore.
I think I'm going to play ref for a little bit. I think mommy's going to be the ref.
Indeed.
Constant reminders.
It is constant. But I mean, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I mean, the point is that, it was fun. It was something that we could do. And it was, an active thing. And it was really cool. So, that's why I said, like, each stage has a different thing. I mean, and I used to love when we used to do finger painting and all that other stuff when they were smaller, and go to the hands-on museum and do all that kind of stuff. So every stage has a gift associated with it. But you're right. It's definitely, you get in that stage where you're in crisis and you're just kind of like, am I going to make it through? And then just when you think you're not going to be able to make it, then that's when they do the thing. Like the first 3 months, honestly, I tell people, I'm like, they make it sound like it's such a beautiful thing. Like, you go and you look on Instagram, these women who have given birth and they are absolutely flat stomachs right afterwards, which we know is absolutely baloney, right? Because that's just not a thing. And then you have them, looking all like beautiful, immediately after. I'm like, is that a filter? That's got to be a filter, because that's not real.
It's called the postpartum filter.
Postpartum filter, yes. And then, nobody tells you that you are up. I mean, you mentioned the sleep deprivation stage, which is like that first 3 months. You are just up. You are feeding this baby, you are doing everything for this baby. And just when you think, oh my goodness, what did I do? What did I get myself into here? Your little cherub just turns to you and flashes those gums. And you're just like, oh, I love you so much.
Ever. Just give me some snuggles.
Yeah, so it's just
I,
my daughter just said too cute, if you heard
yeah,
that, but so basically it's nature's defense.
yeah,
Nature knows
totally.
exactly when you're going to be at your breaking point, which is right around that 3-month mark, and knows that that's exactly when you need feedback and
Just
provides
to
that
show
feedback
some
so that you keep
love and
going.
to feel some love. Yeah.
It's
And like I
amazing.
said, it's unconditional, right? It is that powerful thing. And then you realize you're
Yes.
like, okay, now I get it. Now I understand. Like it just,
Yeah, yeah, it's
and then when
incredible.
they get a little bit older and you try and you're telling them 100 times a week how much you love them, right? And it's like they're just annoyed by it. And it's like, well, you'll understand one day. And people, my mom might have said that to me when I was younger, but you really don't. You really won't understand until you actually, from my experience, have your own.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
And
And
that's not to
so,
say that, real quick, I'll just say
yeah,
for
yeah,
anybody
sure.
out there, that's not to say that those who adopt and then, et cetera, or end up with children can't love them unconditionally as well and have that same love. I'm just saying from my experience, I didn't truly understand it until I had my own children.
Oh, absolutely. And the adoption thing is like a whole other thing, right? Because now
Yeah,
you have chosen the child,
right.
right? And so
Yeah,
that's a special thing because it's even more of a gift because you have an opportunity to actually make a huge difference in a life that's already here by
yeah.
choosing them. So, yeah, no, absolutely. That
Love
love is
the car
very
there.
deep as well. So,
Love it.
awesome. So, here's what I'd like to know from you, Ryan.
I'm ready.
Was there any fear? So we've talked about fear associated with parenting. We've talked about
Right.
that.
Is
Was
this
there
ever going to end? Am I
I
ever going to
know.
sleep again?
I know. Is there any fear that you had in, when you were thinking about becoming a coach, maybe in establishing your business? Was there any fear associated with any of that?
Part of me wants to say no, right? And so I'm thinking this out loud, and that's not to say that's not the truth. But I'm saying part of me, I wouldn't say that it was like this overwhelming, daunting thing. Like this is not like there wasn't like long periods of fear. For me, as a bit of a lifelong entrepreneur, also as a human being, it was something that was more that would come in, drips and drabs, like bits and pieces. It's like, okay, here it comes day to day, different aspects of fear would trickle in, or depending on the type of people that I knew or people that I was talking to, basically, which is typically based on their fear and their past experience, kind of dripping into my life and my business. But in general, I've been, I'm what I call an ADD entrepreneur. So in some capacity, I've had some sort of a business going or a side hustle really since I was 18 years old. So the concepts of fear in building a business aren't necessarily daunting to me, as much as they're just obstacles and slowly things that really I consider opportunities for growth. It's like something that I can see and feel and look at and say, okay, well, how true is this, right? So it's an opportunity for me to coach myself as well. And I do just want to share,
Yeah.
there's a hurricane kind of coming around.
Oh
I
my
just had a little bit
gosh.
of a brownout. So if you lose me, that might be the case. But I think we're okay. I think
Oh
we'll
my
clear.
gosh.
I throw it out there as a forewarning.
Okay. All right then. Stay safe. Oh my.
I think by now I'm in New Jersey. By the time it reaches, it's not actually like full-fledged hurricane. I'm not concerned about any danger as much as I'm just thinking that we might
Okay.
lose
All
power.
right. The electricity might go.
Yes, exactly.
Indeed. 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 Okay. All right. Okay. Well, then, let's talk about how people can interface with you as a client. What kinds of people you help? Like, who do you help?
Sure, totally. And real quick, let me just also say that fear is like, in my opinion, when people go back to starting any business, like really, anytime I've spoken with anybody or even my clients, to kind of continue with what you're asking about, fear is like typically not only fear, but the fear of what other people think is really one of the most important, not important, but powerful fears that there are. Fear, it's one of the most like really most fears in some capacity can be rooted back to that. Unless somebody's physically in danger in front of you at the moment, more often than not, almost all fear can be derived back to what someone else somewhere else thinks. And
Absolutely.
so that, for a long time in my career, the first 5 or 6 years of my career, I really focused specifically working on musicians and people in the music industry. And there are so many fears that like that whole thing is putting yourself out there. It's all fear of judgment, right? The biggest blocks are like, what, is this any good? What is everybody going to think? And here I am, I'm just creating this stuff for the sake of creating it. And it's such a hard industry to make it in. And I have to stand in front of the stage and maybe nobody's going to be there, but maybe there'll be a bunch of people there. Either one is scary, right? It's like there's all these different things. So often when I ask my clients, when I gets down to like what's keeping you from stepping into your greatness, they don't answer with fear, but when I dive into it, it's always comes back to fear.
Absolutely.
Because, for anybody who's listening, and I'm sure being a common topic, right, that you cover, people out there, if you were to ask them, if you didn't care what anyone else thought anywhere else, whether it be your family, whether it be your friends, and this is not, we won't get into the depths of the value of relationships that you have, mentors. I mean, there's certainly great people who you want their opinion, but just for the sake of this conversation, if you were to really not even a little bit care what anyone else, anywhere else think, what would be different about your life? And I've asked that enough time to enough clients, and I've never had a response that was different from, oh my gosh, my life would be amazing, right? Or along those lines.
Of course, because you do all the things, right? I mean, you push the boundaries, you do all that stuff.
Yeah, freedom, right? I mean, it is the true sense of freedom. And it is the true sense of understanding your true self, because you're not, there's no blocks or filters of someone else telling you that your true self isn't good enough, including yourself, by the way. When we got down to judgment, we're constantly not only fearful of what other, yeah, exactly. Not even fearful what other people are judging us, but the judgment that we put on ourselves, going back to parenthood. I mean, it's like, am I a good enough parent? Am I doing this right? Right. So not only are those fears of, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing, but B, I'm not good enough. Right. All these fears can come into many parents right after, starting it off. So many times. And so anyway, going back for 5 or 6 years, I worked with musicians. And after that, I became an internal coach for one of the top coach training programs in the world, iPEC, and I was their internal coach. So I coached their staff, I coached their CEO, I coached people from C-suite down to people who are just entering the business and whatever, or into the company. And that enabled me to kind of stretch my muscles a little bit and stretch my legs. And since then, I've worked with all sorts of people. I've worked with, doctors, I've worked with authors, I've worked with people in marketing, whatever, people who are just basically ready to recognize that life is more than they're allowing it to be and are willing to kind of step into it. And it, typically the first thing to do is recognize what fears are holding you back, what blocks are holding you back, what limiting beliefs, which typically stem from fear, are holding you back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
It's definitely a powerful force. And the coolest thing about fear is that once you recognize it for what it is, and that it is something that is, can technically just be outside of you, right? And you have the opportunity to kind of change it and create the opposite of fear from within, which is confidence and love and creativity and empowerment. You can really create those at any point. It takes practice to do it consistently, right?
Yes.
Especially in the face of fear. Mm-hmm. But once you do that, it's one of the most powerful things that anybody can do. And then you really begin to live on purpose. And then you really begin to have the influence that you want on those you want to, and you attract people into your life that will serve your purpose. And ideally you'll be serving theirs as well.
Wow. That is so well said.
So, well, it's easy to say when it's the truth, right?
It's so funny because like a lot of things that you're saying have been echoed, because I talk about this. I'm like, you have to like recognize your fear. You have to once you do that, that is the first step. And amazing things happen when you just start to make a decision to face it, to do something about it, have an action plan surrounding it. Because man, like you said, if you envision a life where you do not have fear, or you don't care about what people say or whatever it is, you will be living an incredible life, which is so the truth. So the truth. Which
I think is what everybody, whether they know it or not, wants, right? They want to be free. They want to be themselves. Typically when I'm working with a coaching client, it's not that we're bringing out a new self. It's what we're really doing is we're removing the stuff that's keeping your true self, who's already there, from shining. I saw something once, and this was probably years ago, and it was a simple statement that stuck with me, and I use it with my clients all the time. And it's just, fear is a liar. Right. I mean, again, unless you're physically in danger at the moment, that's a different type of fear.
Yes.
But 99.9% of the other fears that most of us in, first world society, right, have are just internal, and they're lies.
Indeed.
They're lies that our subconscious is telling us to keep us from getting hurt, right? Based on the old days of saber-toothed tigers, like keeping people in the caves, right?
Yes, indeed. Not being T-Rex's lunch. Let's not be T-Rex's lunch, but.
Right. But there's not saber-toothed tigers out there, right? There's just our imagination of whatever worst case scenarios. We're constantly preparing for the worst case scenario. So if we instead decide to start focusing on the best case scenario and being creative and empowered to figure out what's the best way for me to do that, right? I often talk about fear, judgment versus curiosity. right? So they're two sides of the same coin. Like they are recognizing something is different, and you can either judge it as good or bad, including ourselves. So I'm either good or I'm bad, or someone else is either good or bad, better or worse than me. Or you could just be curious about it. I wonder why they are that way. I wonder, and it's not good or bad. It's just different from me. And if you're genuinely curious, then there's so much more opportunity, right? It doesn't put them in a box of being labeled as better or worse, good or bad. It just puts them as opportunity for curiosity to see unlimited, answers. And then for self-judgment, it can be the same thing. When we start to say, I'm not good enough, I should be doing this better, I should have lost more weight, I should be further along in my career, I should be in a better relationship, all these different things that we tell ourselves, right? That's all judgment. And we're putting ourselves in a box of not being good enough. And if we shift that to curiosity and say, well, I could lose some more weight. What would that look like? Just even when I say that, right? That energy in it is different.
Yes, it's very
right?
different dynamic.
It's opening up opportunity. Well, I could lose more weight. What does that mean? I could be further along my career. Okay, so I'm not. What can I do about that today? Right? I could be in a different relationship, a more powerful. What's going to take for me to do that then? Right? So I'm not even worrying about the energy of judging myself. It doesn't matter how I got here, where I am. So I shouldn't be anything. In fact, the only time I like to use the word should is to realize that everybody is exactly who they should be for every single second of life that they lived up until this moment. And had I been born to their parents and lived every single second of their life, which includes traumas or curiosities or stresses or fears or responses to those situations, right? Which leads to other things, I would be exactly who they are. So everybody should be who they are, but that doesn't mean that's who they have to be for the rest of their lives. So there's always an opportunity for us to decide who we are, decide who we prefer to be, and what we want to do about it.
Awesome. Those are some great pearls. Are you guys listening? Fearless, are you listening? I mean, this is awesome. Yes, thank you so much for sharing those insights, because I love how you broke it down. It's just really the perspective. It's really how you look at it. Are you going to be coming at it from a judgmental standpoint or a curiosity standpoint? And it's the same language almost, but it's just slanted, it's tweaked a little bit. And that little tweak makes all the difference in your mindset, makes all the difference in how you approach the situation, how you think about it as there is a situation here, I need to figure out how I'm going to solve it versus the situation here that I'm going to complain about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, no, that's great.
And the other benefit to curiosity is when you think about it, our mind is always trying to answer questions in some capacity, right? Like that's what it does. And so the more questions we ask it, if we're asking questions, all of a sudden it's going to give our brain it's going to want to answer them. So instead of you're just telling it, I stink or I'm bad or I'm not good enough, you instead say, how can I be better? Your brain says, oh, how can I be better? I don't know. You start to look for answers. There was something I was going to add to it, but I forget what it was.
No, that's great. That's fantastic. Wow. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being on the show, for taking time out of your busy day and dropping so many gems on the Fearless Freedom Tribe, because we appreciate it. We appreciate you. And so now we're at that point in the show where we do our tradition. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
I believe I'm ready. And you know what? Okay, I'm ready. Go ahead.
You sure? You ready?
I wasn't ready for a second, but now I am ready.
Now you are. Okay, awesome. All right. So the first one is, the first fill in the blank is, if I am fearless, I will
live the life I deserve.
Awesome. The next one is, to me, fearless freedom means
waking up every day on purpose and enjoying the gift of life that has been given to me.
Love it. And then last but not least, my battle cry is
keep going.
Simple and powerful.
That's
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I don't know. It's always.
But I mean, it's simple. It's to the point. It gets the message across. Boom. Yeah.
Keep going. Well, here's the thing. And I know we're wrapping up on time, but I will just share one last thing for our listeners, for our fearless listeners out there. Listen, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if you truly think about it, right now, there's oxygen, there's gravity, there's sunlight just here so that you can exist. And you can spend this gift, focus on complaints, focusing on things that don't serve you, focus on what somebody somewhere else thinks or is doing that has nothing to do with you, or you can take this gift of today of gravity, oxygen, and sunlight to decide what you want to do with it, how you want to serve this purpose of life, how you want to be the light that you want to see in the world so that others can do the same. and then, leave a legacy. Be the light that you want to see the world, so that others can live that life as well. Today is here for you.
Yes. Yes, yeah. Indeed. Thank you, Ryan. And so just so everyone is aware, and I don't think we covered this, let's make sure that you verbalize how you can be reached.
Yes, absolutely. So ryanstanley.com, that's RyanStanley.com. If you wanted to purchase my book, which again is called Be Patient, Be Present, Be Joyful, a first aid kit for the emotional bumps, scrapes, and bruises of life, you could certainly find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold, as they say. But you can also find it on my website at ryanstanley.com. There'll be a button up top that's as part of the menu that just says Be Patient, Be Present, Be Joyful. If you click on that, you can purchase it. If you purchase it from the website, I will send you a signed copy. And then also, listen, I mean, I know it's been a crazy year for a lot of people. There's all sorts of different things going on. If for whatever reason, some of the things that I've said to you have spoken to you, and you want to learn more about my writing, but you don't necessarily want to spend cash right now, you can actually get a free copy of my book, the PDF, on my website as well. And so that's ryanstanley.com /free-ebook.
Fantastic. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. So we will have that all. So you guys all heard this, and you can go check out ryanstanley.com and learn more about Ryan. Check out the PDF of his book.
Yep.
And you can also go and buy the book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Perfect. So there you have it.
And real quick, it's a small book. I mean, you can read it in a half hour. It's called a first aid kit because it's meant for if you're having a tough day, you can just pick it up and read through it. It's nothing that's going to take you 7 hours to read. It's good stuff. It's intentional. I don't like to read. So I made it for people who also don't like to read.
Got it. That's practical. Definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Thank you.